It says it right here in the back. Only physical, never digital. Let's talk about this game here, Demon Throttle.
Demon Throttle.
There's a little bit of a controversy surrounding this and some sort of hidden information that I see no one talking about that I think is very relevant, and this will also initiate another discussion completely that I think is really interesting, which is physical versus digital. Welcome to the channel, this is From the Void. This is a real fun little game. This is a Nintendo Switch exclusive. It's an 8-bit retro throwback. It plays similarly to Commando or Ikari Warriors on the NES. Auto-scroller, top-down, shoot 'em up with all manner of enemies roaming about and plenty of secrets to find. In single player, you can switch freely between two characters, the Gunslinger and the Lady Vampire, which control rather differently, with the Vampire having a sort of shotgun pattern to her shots, while the Gunslinger is more of a machine gun style. You can also play this game in co-op, which is a lot of fun, and on top of the old school aspects, Demon Throttle also has a few new ideas or modern features. You can jump, which is unusual for a game with this camera perspective, but it works really well here, allowing you to avoid enemy projectiles. And we also have RPG features here. Your characters level up, which improves their damage and shooting patterns. There are power-ups to find destroying things in the environment, which give permanent increases to speed, shooting frequency, and even luck, improving things like critical hits, lucky dodges, and freebie items. But it still manages to keep the retro feeling throughout the game, which is very short, only with 4 stages in total, but in true classic style, rather tough as well. You will need to learn the stages and enemies to improve your odds, and even when you do, simply finishing the game will only reward you with a bad ending. To reach the true ending, you will need to find one chalice in each stage. Those are hidden in the underground and guarded by special demons. The underground doors are randomized in each level. In the first one, for instance, it can be either here on the right side or a little further on the left, so you'll need to learn every location where they can spawn. Demon Throttle is actually great. It does what it sets out to do very competently. I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. Really fun time playing this all the way through, including the true ending and most of the unlockables. And I initially thought to make a full review of it, but I soon realized that there is no point to that right now because of the controversial aspect I was talking about. Demon Throttle is a physical-only game, no digital versions to be found, and they promise that there will never be a digital copy ever. Like I read in the beginning, it is written in the back of the box, only physical, never digital, and they also promised the same thing in the Devolver Digital showcase announcing the game. Check a look.
Devolver, though, aims to return subscription-based addiction back to its more tangible roots, with a premium purchase title available only in this, the physical plane of actual, real, for real existence.
Is that?
Goddamn right it is. Introducing Demon Throttle by developer Doinksoft, the creators of Gato Roboto. It is coming to the Nintendo Switch as a physical box set, and only a physical box set, through our good friends at Special Reserve Games. Oh, you heard me right. Demon Throttle will not, I repeat, will not be available in any digital format and is only available for you to purchase as a retail product and put on your shelf and to never play or to sell at ridiculous scalper prices to anyone who missed out on its initial offering starting today. Check a look.
Okay, so here is the game. This is the standard version. It was sold by Special Reserve for 30 bucks, and there was also a special edition for 40 bucks with a few extras. This version is already pretty great actually. There is a reversible cover, a full manual inside, which I really appreciate, and a bunch of stickers. The manual is the best part. It provides a lot of hints on how to play the game. There is even a hidden code to unlock all the special power-ups, which was pretty cool. I'm super happy with this game, both the game itself as well as the physical stuff. Now, the controversy here doesn't end in the fact that Demon Throttle is a physical-only game in 2022. Some people are concerned or disapproving of the fact that it being unavailable digitally severely limits access to this game, making it a secret club kind of situation, especially considering that only 10,000 regular copies were made and another 9,000 special editions for a total of 19,000 copies worldwide, and I would agree that's super limiting with so few physical offerings. It didn't take long at all for scalpers to start flipping it online for double the price, just like the Devolver Digital lady suggested. However, and this adds even more to the controversy in my opinion, the Devolver Digital person there, she lied when suggesting that people who lost the initial offering would have to buy this from scalpers, because this game is coming out on retail, both in North America as well as in Europe, and all major stores will be selling this in September, I believe, so you just need to wait a little while. Do not buy this from scalpers. A bunch of channels out there are saying that only 10,000 copies of Demon Throttle were made, but that is completely not true. It's just feeding into the fear of missing out. We don't need this kind of crap. You can totally still get this game for its regular price. In fact, you can pre-order it right now from Amazon even, for the same exact 30 bucks. Though I hear that this version doesn't come with the manual and stickers, I'm not 100% sure of that, but even if that's true, there is no scarcity for this game. I also totally disapprove of how Devolver Digital announced this, suggesting that the game would only be obtainable through special reserve and for a limited time only. But I approve of the fact that we have a game released in 2022 that is physical only, so long as there is no artificial scarcity of the physical copies. I think this is a cool move against the frightening, ever-growing, digital-only future. I'm sure they only made this for marketing purposes, but still, I am a big fan of physical games. I largely prefer them over digital, especially on the Nintendo Switch, due to something that I see very few people talking about. And this is gonna be the last section for this video: physical versus digital. Now, first of all, I firmly believe that digital and physical can totally coexist, as they have, and that both formats have their own pros and cons, which make them not only valuable for consumers, but even fundamental for a healthy marketplace nowadays. If you remove digital games, that would be a major regression to times when only the big companies were able to produce them, because of the large amounts of funding required to manufacture physical copies. And that way we would never have so many magnificent masterpieces like Hollow Knight, for instance, made by a smaller team with a tighter budget. So in that sense, digital is fundamental, but so is physical, because if you remove those, the balance between consumers and corporations is shifted to the corporation side, giving them all the power and control over the marketplace. Because digital games cannot be shared, cannot be sold, and can even be later on taken away from the consumers. The digital format basically removes too much of the ownership we have over games, giving it to the corporations. And if you extrapolate that to a digital-only future, the reality would be very negative for consumers. Like I said, both formats have positives and negatives, and one day I would like to do a full video about all of it, but the one aspect that I want to focus on today is one that few people talk about. People are quick to point out that physical has the disadvantage of taking space in your house, but the same kind of issue also happens with digital. We also have limited space inside our consoles, and it's much more limited, by the way. And the consequences of that are much more dire than the negative aspects of physical games, in my opinion. 500 gigabytes or even 1 terabyte are ridiculously tiny amounts of space if you decide to go full digital. A mere handful of AAA games can occupy 500 gigabytes real easy. And here's my biggest take on all of this that few people are talking about: this issue of running out of digital space and its very problematic consequences, which I'll talk about soon, happens even if you go for physical games nowadays, but much more so in disc-based systems, so PlayStations 4 and 5 and Xbox One and Series, than in recent cartridge-based systems, basically the Switch and the Vita. Because when it comes to reading physical games, disc-based systems have a much much harder time than cartridge-based ones. It takes way too long to load a game reading it directly from the disc compared to the RAM chips in the cartridges that apparently evolved a lot recently, allowing for very fast read times. So to solve that issue, all modern home consoles, except the Switch, will require most, if not the entire game, to be dumped into the internal hard drive so that load times are drastically reduced. But doing so means that you will run out of digital space really quickly, which in turn will force you to delete games to make room for new games. And that's what I hate. I hate having to delete a game that I own for two main reasons. Number one, I prefer having my games ready to play whenever I want, because I swear to God, I had to reinstall Horizon Zero Dawn the other day on my PlayStation 4, and between re-downloading the game, the DLC, installing all of it, booting it up, then trying to reload my save file, and for whatever reason having to wait an extra 15 minutes so that the game could resync my save file to the fresh installed game, which is something I was not even aware was a requirement, and a long one at that. I had lost 35 minutes and that was all the time I had to play. So I ended up not playing anything, and that's just ridiculous. We didn't have that problem 30 years ago. Games were ready to play whenever, and instead of improving or at least keeping it the same, things got progressively worse. That's not even my major problem. The major reason is that I don't trust companies to keep my games for me, because they lose it. Whenever you delete a game, you are running a small but very real risk of them revoking your access to it all of a sudden and for whatever reason. That's what digital games allow them to do, and you can do nothing about it. It has already happened to me. I lost access to DuckTales Remastered on the Xbox 360. They gave us like 1 or 2 weeks notice, but I was away on vacation, could not get to my Xbox in time, so I lost access to the game altogether. Great. And we've seen many other cases too, like Scott Pilgrim PT, which was free but still. And if you're thinking it happens only with smaller games, recently we had Assassin's Creed Liberation removed from Steam, which Ubisoft claims was an error, which it may have been, but it doesn't change the fact that at any time they can remove games, and it will happen more and more, especially if or when it normalizes. So you see how this all correlates, right? Even if you go for physical, for those games you may be a little bit safer that they're not revoking your access to them, but a game like Final Fantasy VII Remake takes the exact same amount of space in your hard drive in physical version than its digital version. And it's a lot of space, like over 90 gigabytes if I remember correctly. It's ridiculous. And this will in turn make it more likely that you will end up deleting other games, and if some of them are digital, you end up risking losing access to them because of corporate shenanigans. So yeah, to tie this all up, that's why my favorite console right now is the Nintendo Switch. If a game I want to play is on the Switch and not in a heavily compromised way because it's a technically inferior console, I will certainly pick it up there and physically whenever possible, and I'm happy to see a physical only game like Demon Throttle appear, so long as it is not made artificially scarce, which is not the case here, so it's all good. So is this digital issue something that bothers you too? Are you concerned about the increase of digital over physical and how it gives corporations more power and control while removing them from us, the consumers? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below and let's discuss it a little bit. In any case, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.